Here to talk more about it, William Isaacs, former chairman of the FDIC from 1981 to 1985, now a senior managing director and global head of financial institutions for FTI Consulting, Corporate Finance, and Restructuring. Bill, it's great to have you back on America's Forum.
It's good to be back.
So, Mel Watt, in his new role with Fannie and Freddie, trying to keep those organizations in business, should we perpetuate the role of these giant government-sponsored enterprises?
I don't think so. I think we're the only major country in the world that has these enterprises, and everybody else seems to be doing just fine without them. There's no question in my mind that Fannie and Freddie were huge contributing factors in the financial collapse we had in 2008, 2009. And we desperately need to reform them. I think that the consensus for reform seems to be falling apart, though.
Well, let's drill down some on the notion of reform, Bill, because reform is one of Washington's favorite retreaded terms. But if we were talking about genuine Fannie and Freddie reform, what would it entail?
Well, in my mind, it would be getting rid of them.
Yeah, hey man, that would be abolition, and a lot of us would like to see that.
It'd be winding them down.
Okay.
We can't do everything at once, but it seems to me that a relatively simple way to wind them down is to keep on lowering the size of loans that they could deal on. I think right now they're up somewhere around $750,000. I would lower that by perhaps $100,000 a year until they really have no authority to be dealing with guaranteeing these loans anymore. I believe the private sector can take care of this quite well, with the possible exception and with of subsidized housing, where we really do, maybe for veterans, maybe for other folks, we really want to have a subsidized housing program. If that's the case, then the Congress ought to do that online, authorize the subsidies, have a budget for it, and hold people accountable.
So as I listen to one of your suggestions, another Washington term comes to mind, a glide path, reducing the size of the loans and the amount of cash and putting this on a glide path to eventually ending. It is worth noting, Bill, that just yesterday, a measure that would dismantle Fannie and Freddie won the approval of a Senate committee, but most likely that will not make it to the full chamber this year because, well, Harry Reid's in charge. He controls the calendar, and anything that the administration opposes, or almost anything the administration opposes, Senator Reid will oppose too. With that kind of brinksmanship or gamesmanship in Washington, a lot of us who may have served there grow more cynical, saying, wait a minute, it doesn't appear that at least in the current climate, we can even have a modest glide path to scale down the influence of Fannie and Freddie. So does that mean we have to take a deep breath and wait again until the midterm elections? And even so, you've got Mr. Obama in the White House, who ostensibly, even with a Republican House and a Republican Senate drafting legislation, you would have to think that he would veto that kind of legislation.
I don't know. I do know that the Obama administration said shortly after the crisis, and that has been their position all along, is that we really need to do some major reforms of Fannie and Freddie. They said that was a priority. And I think that one of the reforms they talked about was winding them down. And so I'm not sure, but I would tell you that what happened in the Senate yesterday was that they had a number of Democrat senators who did not support the bill, and because they are saying that we need to subsidize housing, and they were talking about going back to the old day, the bad old days, lower down payments, lower interest rates, making it more possible for more Americans to own housing, and that hasn't worked in the past. It led to this massive crisis we had, and here they are. They want to do it again.
Yeah, that's a very scary thing, Bill. And gosh, there are other loans I'd love to talk to you about. When you come back, It's interesting to hear your thoughts that maybe the administration and people across the aisle really want to lower the impact of Fannie and Freddie in terms of home mortgages, because we know the federal government has taken over all the loans for a higher education, and we've seen now a de facto education bubble, but that's another topic for another day. William Isaac, we appreciate your insights on Fannie and Freddie and the difficulties that persist, and perhaps a path to, at long last, sanity involving home lending, as long as we don't repeat some of the mistakes of the past. It's been great to have you on, sir, and we hope you have a great weekend. Thank you.
Same to you.
So you hear Bill's take right there. What about it? Fannie and Freddie, he'd love to see them gone, or at least scaled back. You think the White House is in favor of that? Why don't you tweet me your comments at Newsmax TV, hashtag America's Forum. There's also email and Facebook. And you'll see my face again in just a couple of minutes.